Hi there, and thank you for your interest in Mission Control. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at all of the key functionality that is available for you. So just to quickly explain, Mission Control is built natively on the Salesforce platform. So that means it's customizable the way you can customize Salesforce. There are also a number of other benefits available as a result of using a native application. Just to let you know, you do need a Salesforce license in order to have a Mission Control license. And just quickly there, we're just showing you all of the different Salesforce license types that you can add Mission Control on top of. So what we're going to do here is quickly give you an overview of all of the key objects that we have available within Mission Control. So we'll talk about the project in a moment, but over on the left we have the role. Now the role is a record for an individual person that can be assigned as a resource on a project. And a role can be linked to either a Salesforce user or a Salesforce contact. Underneath those roles, you can keep a profile of what skills each person's capable of doing, what teams they're a member of, and any holidays they've got coming up, whether that's annual leave, sick leave, public holidays, and so on. So all of those attributes are handy when you're trying to resource a new project. You can filter down and find people with the right team membership, with the right skill set, making sure you're going to assign someone that isn't going to be on holiday in the middle of the project. So at the project level, we track things like the budget. We track two lots of financials. We track what we call our billing rate, which is the rate that we're charging our customer to do the work. We also track the cost rate, which is the rate that we're paying our people to do the work for us. So by tracking both of those, we're able to track the profit and loss of that project as well. Underneath the project, we have our milestone. So the milestone is a phase or a stage or a sprint within your project. Underneath each milestone, you can keep a track of all of the actions. So think of the actions as the individual tasks that need to be delivered. Each action has an action owner. You'll specify the start and end dates and how much effort you think is going to be required to deliver that piece of work. Now, whilst the action can only have one owner, you can also pull in contributors. So contributors are additional roles that will be there supporting the action owner in delivering that particular piece of work. Also under the action, you have your checklist items. So the checklists are a set of subtasks that sit underneath the action to compile a simple to-do list of the things that you need to tick off. You can also record your time as well. So logging your time rolls up to the action, the milestone, and the project, and gives you the ability to do a comparison between your scheduled effort and your actual effort. So you can see how you delivered and whether that was delivered more or less efficiently than you thought it would be. Additional objects underneath the project, you have the ability to track expenses. You can also keep a log of any risks and issues you're concerned about, as well as adding in change requests if the scope of the project has increased or decreased. If you're wanting to, you can also raise invoices against your projects. So the billing event is the invoice. You can apply tax rates to that. You can also have multiple line items sitting underneath that billing event. And you can raise a PDF to send off to your customer, as well as recording the payment back in. Sitting above the project, we have our program. Now, the program ultimately comprises of multiple projects. Within each program, you can be capturing the high-level requirements that need to be fulfilled, and within each requirement, you can be documenting the detailed user stories. So now we're going to take a closer look at some of the key features that we have within Mission Control. So first of all, we're going to take a quick look at the console. So the console really gives you quick launch access to all of the key parts of the system. So the console works as a gateway through to the rest of the system. So it's broken up into these 4 pads here, which is our launch pad, our progress pad, our management pad, and our control pad. So the launch pad is all about creating something new. So what I can do is create a new project. I can clone an existing one. I can add new programs, skills, teams, and so on. To make progress across a variety of features within the system, I can access my whiteboard, the timesheet, my action pad, and issue log, and so on. The management pad gives me access to a number of tools that help me see what's going on at a management level. So whether I'm looking at a project overview or managing the requirements backlog for a program or building out the detail of a new project or looking at the PMO dashboard or the role utilization. Now, the control pad is where you can go to configure certain settings within the system. So there are certain things that you can literally just point and click to configure within Mission Control. And you can actually also control who has access to each of these pads based on their role permissions. Now, in addition to the console, over on the right-hand side, we have our trackpad. So the trackpad gives us access to a number of different utility tools. So we're able to access a timeline, which shows us a summary of all of the key things that have been happening on our projects. We're also able to quickly access the chatter feed for our projects. And we can also quickly log time against any of our projects, or we might want to log expenses, or we can add new actions into the projects as well. The project overview is a page that gives you a 360-degree view of one particular project. So here we're on a project overview for a particular project we've got within Mission Control, and we have access to a variety of tabs here. And again, we can control who has access to each of these tabs. We also have that familiar trackpad over on the right-hand side. Now we can collapse that out of the way to give ourselves more room as well. So the Insights is all about giving you a snapshot of what's going on the project. The Overview tab gives you a summary of how many actions you have on your project and then the detail of what's going on. So I can drill down from my milestones into my actions and then down into the checklist items to get to the full detail of that project. If I take a look at the time logs tab, that shows me a burn down chart. So the blue line is showing me the ideal delivery effort and the purple line is showing me the actuals. I also get a summary here of how many hours have been scheduled, what's been completed and what's remaining, as well as seeing an entry of each individual time log. Taking a look at the expenses, I can see what expenses have been allocated to the project. I can take a look at what risks we're concerned about on the project, as well as any issues that we may have identified. Billing, if we're raising invoices, we can get access to that here. So we have full visibility of what's going on. We can drill down into the invoices to get down to the line items and the payments. We're also able to access the whiteboard filtered to this one individual project, and we can access the Gantt chart as well. The whiteboard is our Kanban interface that allows you to see what's going on at an action level. You're able to quickly drag and drop your actions to record the progress, as well as performing a number of different actions. So let's take a quick look. So the whiteboard displays all of our actions as individual sticky notes as if they were stuck to a whiteboard in the office. And what we can see is what status they're all currently in, so planned, in progress, on hold, complete. We have access to details like the action, the milestone, the project, how many, the start date, the end date, how many hours scheduled, completed, and completion percentage. And you have some customization around what information is displayed there. As well as that, we can see end date warnings, progress on checklist items. We can see who the owners are, as well as people that are helping work on that action. We can also access chatter, we can access our checklist items, we can log time, and we can edit the records. Now, the concept of the Kanban is you're dragging and dropping your actions to move them from one column to the next to record progress. You also have the ability to reassign work by dragging and dropping resources from the right-hand side and dropping them onto card to automatically transfer ownership. You also have the ability to change the columns to any one of the values here on the list. As well as that, you can filter down to get down to the individual actions that you're particularly looking at working with. The scheduler is our resource planning tool. It shows you all of your resources down the left-hand side and a timeline from anything from 1 to 12 weeks across the page. You can quickly identify any bottlenecks and what available capacity you've got across your team. And the scheduler has three views. We've got month, timeline, and hours. So right now we're on the timeline view, and I see a list of all of my available resources. So if I scroll down, I have a big long list of people. Across the page, I can see a timeline from anything from 1 to 12 weeks, and I can see all of the work that's been allocated to each person. Now I also get the ability to identify any bottlenecks. So you can see here, this person is over allocated their work, so it's flagged up red. That is a bottleneck on this resource. Now I can filter down and search for people based on team membership and skill set. And once I've found the right people, it's just a case of dragging and dropping and reassigning that work. And as soon as I do that, I remove the bottlenecks from one person and not causing any issues to the other. We can save that and commit that to the schedule. Now, taking that one step further, we can jump into this hours view, which quickly allows us to identify how that work's been distributed. So we can easily see any bottlenecks where we might have someone over allocated for a particular day. Now, we can obviously see peaks and troughs and try and balance that out across those days. Or if it needs to be done on these days, we can identify who has the right resource and capacity to take on that work. We can also visualize holidays on here. We support non-working days. And if we take a look at the month view, now obviously we don't have each individual resource, but you can quickly see at a snapshot level where that work's been allocated across the month. The Gantt chart visualizes the overall project timeline. It's fully interactive, so you're able to drag and drop to reschedule. You can also edit existing records, add new records. You can easily create dependencies between those milestones and actions. You can also do a comparison between your original baseline date and your actual date. So you can use that as a lessons learned process and see where you may have gone wrong and what learnings you can take into future projects. You've also got the ability to export the Gantt chart as a PDF if you're wanting to share the timeline with your customer. So let's take a quick look. Now you can access the Gantt chart as part of the project overview. And as I say, it fully visualizes the project, the milestones, and all of the actions. It's all interactive. So if you want to drag and drop to reschedule individual records, you can do so. You can also pick up an entire milestone and move everything within the milestone. Now you can easily create dependencies between the records simply by dragging and dropping and creating those relationships between those records. Now, once they're in place, a critical path may appear if you've caused a critical path during the project. And if you need to reschedule certain actions, if I reschedule the parent, anything that's dependent on it will automatically reschedule by the same period of time. I also have the ability to extend the duration of individual actions. I can also view. I can save my changes if I'm ready to commit that to the project. Now I also have the ability to do a comparison between my original dates and my actual dates. So by toggling on that baseline, I can see where I may have gone wrong and what I might need to have adjusted and how can I improve going into the next project. Now, as well as looking at the Gantt chart for one individual project like we are here, we also have the ability to look at multiple projects on a standalone Gantt chart. Now, this shows me multiple different projects, and obviously there's a lot of detail here, and we have the ability to collapse that information to take a snapshot summary. So I can collapse the actions out of view, so I'm now just looking at projects and milestones. I can collapse it again, and now just looking at projects. So I can drill into as much information as I need to. All of the other functionality being able to drag and drop, create dependencies and so on. You can do all of that from here as well. The timesheet is one of the principal ways of logging time within Mission Control. So the timesheet loads up for an individual person and lists all of the activities that have been assigned for that person to be working on for a particular week. So let's jump in and see it in action. So the timesheet loads up and it defaults onto the timesheet tab. It loads for the person that's looking at the page and it loads for this week. Basically what it's listing is all of the actions that have been assigned for that person to work on, whether they're the action owner or a contributor, if that action is scheduled for this week. So we can see the project, the milestone, the action. We can access chatter. We can access our checklist items. We can mark actions off as complete. We can also record both billable and non-billable time across each day of the week there. Now you can see here I've already logged some time. Now if I want to remind myself of what I've done during any of these hours, I can click into this information icon, which will give me a breakdown of those hours and what when they were done, how much work and what was actually done during that time, as well as any approval status. If I need to log new time, I can simply add it in. If I want to add supporting notes, it's just a case of double clicking in and adding the notes there. Once I'm done, if I scroll down, you can see I get a total of billable, non-billable, and holidays across each day, as well as my total for the week. I can choose to save and that will commit all of my time entries. I can also save and submit. So if I have anything that needs approval, that will be submitted for approval. And I can also save my suggested hours, which are all of these grade numbers, which are basically how that work's been allocated for me to do. So you can see I've got 2 hours scheduled to be happening on Friday. Now, if I wanted to just save all of the suggested hours, that would convert those into real time logs. I can also use the calendar converter to jump through and actually create time logs from Salesforce events. And if I click through onto my approvals, I can see a list of anyone that I need to approve time for. So if I want to approve Amy's time, it's just a case of loading it in. I can see what projects that she's been working on, what time she's logged, any notes, and I can quickly approve or reject. When building out all of the detail of a new project, such as the actions, the checklist items, and the contributors, one of the most efficient ways of doing that is via the Create Actions page. So this allows you to create all of your actions in one place. You can add contributors via the Resource Assignment Wizard, as well as building out the checklist items as well. So let's jump in and take a quick look at that. So the Create Actions page loads like this initially, and it's accessible from the project detail page. So what it gives me is one record ready to fill in, but I have the ability to add as many additional actions as I need. Now for my first action, I'm going to say which milestone it relates to and specify what I'm going to be doing. I can put in both billable and non-billable effort. I can specify when this needs to be done as well. Now, if I know who's going to do the work, I can select them from this list. Otherwise, I can jump into this resource assignment wizard. Now, if I click on search, it will pull back a list of everyone I have a role record for in Mission Control, and I can see a big long list of people and their availability. Now I can see here, if I take a look at my record, it's telling me I'm over allocated for the day. So what I can do is actually choose who's going to be the owner, and that adjusts who the work's been allocated to. Now, if I leave myself as the owner, but I want to pull in contributors, I can also filter down and find the right people. So I can search based on team membership, based on skill set, and looking for people with certain attributes, and even based on their proficiency within those skills. So I refine that search, and then that shows me who's capable of doing that work. So then I can start pulling down the most relevant people and allocating additional some of that work off to my colleagues. In addition to that, we can also add in the checklist items as well. So what I'm going to do underneath these design wireframes is just build out a few quick checklists. So this becomes that to-do list of the items that we need to tick off. So what I'm going to do is just finish off building out all of these other actions quickly. Now, once we're done, we simply click on create, and that goes away and creates all of the actions, the checklist items, and the contributors, and that's our project ready to go. If you have a fairly repeatable project methodology that you use from one project to another, we've got you covered. So we have the ability to actually clone an existing project. So any project in Mission Control can be used as a template, and you can make a full copy of the project, the milestones, the actions, the contributors, and the checklist items, literally within a matter of a couple of clicks. So you can see here I'm on the clone project page for an existing project that I've got within Mission Control, and I can make changes to any of the key fields here. So I can give it a new name, I can link it through to a new customer that I've got in Salesforce, I can make changes to any of the project settings. As I scroll down, I've got the ability to see all of my milestones and actions, and all of the assignments there as well. So I can also choose to clone my checklist items, I can clone my contributors, and I can also set the start date for my new project. So if I say this is going to start in a couple of weeks, what that will do is go through all of the actions within the project and reset all of the dates right through the entire project, keeping all of the lead times between each action from the original one. So in a matter of a couple of clicks, I've been able to initiate a new project using an existing one as a template. The program planner allows you to keep a track of all of the requirements that you've got within your backlog they're going to be delivered across a series of projects. So within each requirement, you can build out user stories and checklist items and then allocate those requirements to individual projects. So in this example here, I've got a program in place for implementing Salesforce across a series of projects. Now you can see here I've got my backlog and my priority backlog. Each one of these cards is representing a requirement that needs to be delivered. I can add new requirements into any of these sections, and I can also drag and drop these and allocate them off to a particular project. So I've got my backlog and all of the projects that each of my requirements are going to be delivered within. So I can manage the priority by dragging and dropping up and down the column. I can go into each one of these requirements and start documenting more detail at the requirement level. I can also manage the building out user stories and checklist items right from within this window. The project builder is a Kanban that allows you to convert your requirements backlog into actions within the milestones of a project. So let's take a look at how we can do that. So in this example here, you'll see I'm on a project that has been allocated some requirements. Now I've already got my milestones built out, and I already have some actions allocated to each of my milestones. So these are all of the backlog requirements that have been allocated from my program planner, and they're sitting here waiting to be allocated into a milestone. So what I can do is actually just start dragging and dropping these requirements into the relevant milestone, and that will convert that requirement into an action on my project. So I can start working out, which phase within my project I'm going to be delivering these particular items. Once I've actually converted them to actions, I can also access my roles as well. So I can start dragging these guys over and allocating the actions to have an owner. The action pad provides you with a one-stop shop where you can go to see all of the actions that you're involved with across multiple different projects. So at the top, you get a summary of charts showing you what status everything's at. You then get a working list of everything that you need to be involved with. And over on the right-hand side, you can get into the detail of the individual action record. You can collaborate via chatter, and you can also mark off your checklist items. So on the action pad, you're able to filter down, and based on all of the list views that you have on your action object, say you get a summary of all of the charts showing you how many actions you've ticked off, anything overdue, what's the total hours, as well as any checklist items. And then as we scroll down, we get details. We get the ability to create new actions. We also have the ability to access any of our existing records. We have the ability to see who's the action owner. We can get through to the assignment wizard as well as log time. We're able to quickly hover over and see who's actually been allocated the work, as well as over on the right hand side we can get through to the detailed action record. We can get through to chatter to collaborate with colleagues, as well as accessing our checklist items to quickly tick off those features. In a similar style to the action pad, we also have the issue log, which allows you to quickly identify and keep on top of any issues that are related to your projects. So again, you're able to filter down your issues based on any list views that you create. You get your summary chart showing you the current status of them all. You can quickly create new issues, and you can also manage any of your existing issues over here. The PMO dashboard is a high-level page that gives you insight into how your projects are performing to both budget and schedule, so giving you insight into your CPI and your SPI figures. The role utilization is a page where you can drill down into the detail of how effectively each person has been using. So what this is showing us here is how many hours we're meant to work, how many hours we have worked, whether that was billable, non-billable, or holidays. We can see the overall utilization as well as the person's performance against their individual billable target. And finally, just to let you know, we do offer a 14-day free trial. So if you like the look of Mission Control and you'd like to try it out in your own instance of Salesforce, you can do that. So you can install straight from the App Exchange, which you can access via this link here. You simply click the Get It Now button. Within 2 minutes, you're going to have Mission Control installed and ready to use. You'll immediately receive a quick start guide. Now you can put that trial into either production or sandbox. If you do want a deeper dive demo, we're more than happy to organize that for you, so feel free to email us at that address. And we also have a range of support materials available on our website, and you can also get in touch with us via that email. We hope you like what you've seen. Thanks. Bye.